Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. So I want to issue special welcome to Mr. Greg Brown. We're going to focus on some UT basketball here today. I'll actually have another video coming out with the new additions to the UT football program. But right now, welcome Greg Brown, Vandergrift High School, one of the top forwards, one of the best players, basketball players in the country, arguably the best dunker in the country. It might be the best dunker coming into all of college basketball. Super excited to have him on the 40. Shaka Smart with one of the big recruiting gets he's had, and he's had several. Mo Bamba, Jared Allen, Will Baker and Jared Allen actually being local guys, and now we land another local guy in Greg Brown, who cites loyalty in his commitment video and signing loyalty to Shaka and Jai Lucas. Great job by them. So for those who haven't heard the recruiting stories, they spent a lot of time since he was in 8th grade nurturing that relationship, being there for him, and really developing a bond with Greg and his family. That's why his father, who is also a Texas ex, felt so strongly about Shaka Smart returning to coach Texas basketball, and they really wanted to play for Shaka Smart. And we also need to mention Greg Brown's uncle, Mr. Roderick Anderson, former Texas guard in the mid 90s, was a very good player, averaged over 20 points a game, 7 assists, and led the NCAA in steals. So, for those who remember, some of the greats there, he was rocking number 12 back in the day and went by Lightning Rod. So, a lot of legacy going on here, and something that Shaka Smart in this Texas basketball program took advantage of. I also, before I go any further, quick sidebar, shout out to our sponsors, Bosses Ranch, HEB Cold Produce. Make sure you check them out since we're talking about loyalty to local ties. Those of you in Central Texas, Austin area, Waco, Houston, all that, y'all been doing a great job of supporting the brand, supporting the movement. Had some for lunch today myself, so check them out, HEB Cold Produce section. So, Mr. Greg Brown, the loyalty aspect, because we're going to get into him as a player. We're going to get into why I think he automatically, right off the bat, if anything else, makes Texas basketball fun again. It's going to be a blast, especially with the guys that we currently have, not losing anyone as of right now, but nobody graduating or anything of that sort, and really a stacked deck for Shaka Smart and this Texas basketball coaching staff. But starting off with Greg Brown, we had to fend off the G League. These are unusual times we're in. You look at a guy like a Jalen Green, who elected to go to the G League, number one overall ESPN high school player in the country. The number one set is kind of between him and Cade Cunningham, depending on what recruiting services you use. Cade Cunningham obviously will be playing for Oklahoma State, so we'll get to see him versus Greg Brown in the Big 12. But in regards to the G League presence, they took the brother from UCLA. They took another guy, so they actually added 3 kids into this new wave of kind of straight to professional basketball, a hybrid program going into the NBA. And Greg Brown had their attention, had their interest as a prospect. McDonald's All-American, Texas High School Gatorade Player of the Year, very well established in what he did at Vandergrift, as well as the AAU circuit. And listen, the type of player that Greg Brown, I've seen a lot of comps for him, just throughout the mock draft and NBA sites. Nick Batum is a name that's come up because I think more for his length and the position he plays. T-Mac has come up. Greg Brown as a dunker, there's nobody better in high school basketball, and might not be anybody better, more explosive, especially with his length in college basketball and the violence in which he attacks the rim. So we've even gotten Zach LaVine and Sean Kemp comps. I'm gonna leave those where they may. There's justification for those type of comparisons. The player that he really reminds me of, and I've been thinking this for a little bit of time. I'm actually from the East Coast. I say that all the time, but I'm from the East Coast for those of you who are new. And growing up in D.C., a guy that was very, very close to my age range. And it's funny because I was the same age. I'm not going to compare him to Kevin Durant, but follow me here. But my class was Kevin Durant because I was class of 2006. So watching Kevin Durant go from Oak Hill to um, Montrose Christian, and I actually went to a lot of his games and seeing him progress. It was cool because he went from DC area, DMV area to Austin to play for Texas. But the guy that I actually had eyes on before KD was Rudy Gay out of Archbishop Spalding. And Rudy Gay, when he was at Archbishop Spalding, was 2 years before. So he was class of '04, and he was the small forward behind, nationally ranked behind Josh Smith. That was the class with Josh Smith coming out of Oak Hill and Dwight Howard. So Rudy Gay ended up going to UConn. And right now, we look at Rudy Gay on the San Antonio Spurs, and obviously much, much older and body type very, very different from what he was at that time in high school. Very, very bouncy player, up and down, could play the 3 and the 4. Was a little bit of a tweener, to be honest. Was in between that 6'8", 6'9" range, but also had a beautiful stroke in terms of mid-range and develop. And you could see his game starting to get more perimeter oriented. And Rudy's strength at that time was from a perimeter standpoint, was more face up than anything else, but very, very versatile skill set and what he could do. And he was a very, very explosive dunker coming out of high school. It was him and Josh Smith right there from an athleticism and attacking the rim standpoint. That's who Greg Brown reminds me of, somebody that I saw growing up over in that area. I think he is every bit of what Rudy Gay was going into UConn, even in terms of um, the weaknesses right now. So ball handling, that was something that was an issue that Rudy had to clean up once he got to the NBA. And Greg Brown is progressing. So Greg Brown's not there skill set wise. When I say skill set wise, I'm talking about dribble, pass, shoot, and be able to run offense through him and bring the ball up and almost act as if he's a point forward and have some of those type of skills and even working out of the post. He's not there yet. He is not there with a Jalen Johnson who's going to Duke, or even a Jalen Green or Cade Cunningham. But he's more athletic than those guys, in my opinion, and he has elite level athleticism. And going to the Texas situation with the crew we have, the guards we have, even the front court players we have, he may not necessarily be asked to carry that type of bag or carry that type of load and ease into his development, but be a key player right off the bat with what he can give us from a transition standpoint, what he can give us defensively. He can switch 1 through 5, has the athleticism and the length to stay with anyone. I like his lateral quickness, even in the half court. Simple face up, being able to break his man down, put the ball on the floor, and go get a body, right? That's what he was doing from freshman, sophomore year at Vandergrift. So that's a strength of his, and I only think that'll continue to develop. He'll have those isolation opportunities that many of you get frustrated with in Shaka Smart's offense, where we stall a little bit. But this is a loaded crew that we have. We saw a guy started to develop a little bit that was a lesser tier prospect last year in the Donovan Williams. You partner up with him. You partner up with Kai Jones. The athletes that Texas has, Jericho Sims coming back. It's crazy. It's going to be crazy. I hope that Shaka is considering having that pace and having that tempo up and down. Even a guy like a Gerald Liddell, if he doesn't transfer, or Jace Febris, guys that can just get up and down and fly. Because if we play with more tempo and we, utilize now the depth that we have, we have several different guys, and that's what I'm saying. Somebody might be the odd man out in this scenario within the framework of this program. We'll get into some of those names here in a little bit, but going from where we finished the season, where we had really 7 healthy bodies and we had to play a certain way, and it actually benefited us because guys got into rhythm and we didn't have to worry as much about rotations and who was hot and who was cold. You had to just perform, and we finished the season very, very hot until the Oklahoma State game came around. But now that you have this type of depth, you can do a lot of really cool things with this level of athletes. And Greg Brown is the cream of the crop athletically in the country. So I really see us having him play small ball four a lot of the times, where you utilize a glue guy like a Brock Cunningham, who will demand minutes on the floor because he does so much that you don't see on the box score. Hopefully he can develop his shooting and continue moving without the basketball that he did very, very well when he played for us last year. You add a Jericho Sims back to the mix. You add a Kai Jones back into the mix that I already mentioned. But again, the other thing with Texas and Shaka Smart in this group is going to be the guard play. Matt Coleman now being in his senior year. And this is where Shaka either keeps his job or doesn't, why I've been frustrated with Shaka Smart more than anything else. Because I have seen the development from the bigs over time, the guys that have come in. Greg Brown, if you're looking from a credibility standpoint, Mo Bamba did end up being a lottery pick. Jared Allen was a lottery pick, but was a first-round pick and ended up in a really good situation, in my opinion, going to Brooklyn Nets. And then obviously Jackson Hayes as well, who was not as big a recruit, but crazy athletic and ramped really, really fast while he was here, and also was another lottery pick to New Orleans Pelicans. So Greg Brown, from that standpoint, will be fine transitioning to the NBA. We know he'll have those opportunities to show off that same stuff that those other guys were able to show off. But I love the fact that he mentioned winning the Big 12 championship, trying to compete in the NCAA tournament and actually winning something. This isn't just one and done for the sake of development. Hey, I'm coming in and playing with a lot of veteran guys, a loaded backcourt, guys like Andrew Jones, who, Andrew Jones was probably the most consistent guard game to game in terms of his shooting. So now we have, how does that look? His last year at Texas. I mentioned Matt Coleman. Can Courtney Ramey get his act together from the standpoint of being there game to game? What we saw in that Kansas State game last year, he drops 26 and he's best player on the floor. And then, I go and see another game and I don't even know if he's out there. So just making your presence felt and finding the right rotations and not being afraid to tweak certain things. There's a slew of guys. I haven't even mentioned Royce Ham coming back, so who will also be a senior. So there's a lot of parts that Shaka has to figure out. But this is a good problem to have. This isn't, you're not devoid of talent, and it's make or break for Shaka Smart. One of the things you've seen a lot with Texas football recently on social media is hashtag #ShowMe2020. That's definitely the case for this Texas basketball team with Shaka Smart. There's no excuses. There's no excuses why they shouldn't be blowing the doors off of people, a lot of people in the Big 12. I'm not, from the standpoint of just overwhelming teams with their athleticism and their pace based upon the depth. And then also developing some of these shooters and some of these guys who have a good stroke. Can Will Baker give us some minutes as a stretch five and open up the floor even more, just developing his confidence to shoot? We saw splashes from him. He was another top-tier recruit. Kamaka Hepa was a guy who I thought was going to be dynamite coming in. Now he's coming into his junior year, hasn't contributed much, and has been extremely passive. Love the kid, but the player's been passive. Can he speed himself up? Because one of the things that I have learned from Shaka, and Shaka's forgotten more basketball than any of us know, it's just his struggle here at Texas, where he's been successful in his basketball career as an assistant at Clemson, and then the run he had at VCU. He struggled here just with also the development aspect. It's kind of a recurring theme I've had with Tom Herman on the football side of things. But Kamaka Hepa, and one of the things I learned from Shaka was being shot ready, feet lined up, being able to, when the ball swings to you, what's your purpose when you're in the game? Are you going to be aggressive and look to fire soon? Because 70% of basketball is just confidence and repetition and maximizing that. And Kamaka Hepa, too many times when he gets the basketball, there's a slight hesitation now, and his release is slow. So now he has to move the ball again, and that we've now missed our best shot opportunity within the realm of that sequence. We've got to clean all those things up. Jace Febris, developing that ball handling stuff, so where the ball's not flying off your foot every time you get the ball off the catch, and you have to put the ball on the floor, and you're not able to shoot it right away. Those are some things we have to develop. Will Jared Liddell develop into anything? He was another guy. So Greg Brown is a higher level prospect. There's tiers to this. He's a different level of tier than many of these guys. I actually think he's a better prospect, especially for the college game, than Mo Bamba was for what he gave us just from a motor standpoint and a intensity. He does bring an intensity to the game. He's going to get some technicals, dunking on some people, and looking at some folks, and that's what we need. We need that edge. Brock Cunningham gave us that edge, just with people already starting to say, "Oh, is he a dirty player or anything like that?" I need dogs like that, and so Royce Ham flying around blocking shots at the end of the season. Kai Jones, I think, has some of that dog in him. Can he develop a little bit more to give us some more offensively? So all those things is a big pot that Shaka has to brew together. But this Texas team, as constructed, this is going to be Shaka's best opportunity to make a real run in the Big 12 and in the NCAA, and show people why Texas can be, can develop into a basketball school. Look, many people after Chris Del Conte made the decision to move on from Karen Aston, they pick up Vic Schaefer from Mississippi State. I'm not going to pretend that I cover women's college basketball or anything like that, but just as a casual fan in that regard, and listening to the people that actually do keep up with the sport and follow it very, very closely, that's the type of person that Vic Schaefer, who's a high-level coach, and moving on from Karen Aston, who was not terrible here but couldn't get past Baylor, as we all know. Is that something where Chris Del Conte looks to move on from Shaka, as his, the buyout becomes less and less of an issue as time moves on? We'll see. In the case of Karen Aston, her contract was up. And I bring that up because the women and the men's all flows into the basketball atmosphere and the basketball culture. And so for those of you us as fans, I think we have to come together and link a lot. Like, I really admire the Texas baseball fans because they're a smaller group, but they're a tighter group and very, very loyal, very similar to the volleyball fans, where they know their stuff in and out, and they're there supporting the kids no matter what. The folks that really, really follow intently with the sport. The UT basketball fans have been very, very fickle over the years. So that's why no matter how Shaka has done, or even Rick Barnes before he was fired, we've been in and out on the program because, we're not, the team's not that great, so I'm not going to show up. But we don't do that with football or other sports. We have to have that level of intense loyalty, even if it's a smaller group. The last couple basketball games I went to this season, I didn't get that same vibe as when I go to a UT baseball game. And I went to UT baseball games when they weren't good either, right? So that level of, even with the women's side of things, that's why I rely on people who do follow. So I know that, hey, this Vic Schaefer hire is a good hire, because the people that follow the sport and are in and out on it have briefed me on that, right? So I follow this college basketball stuff. I've watched Greg Brown at Vandergrift, him being here locally, and seeing him grow and develop, especially having Longhorn ties with his uncle and his father. So I'm telling y'all, this is different. This is different, and this is somebody who you're gonna want to see in person. He's gonna make it fun. We're gonna be interesting. We're gonna be in the mix, and so this is something that can help us rally with this program. A huge commitment. Again, Mr. Greg Brown, Texas. For those of you who want to have a good, fun little YouTube ride, go check out some of his highlights and some of the bodies he's caught in high school basketball throughout. It will be worth your while. I will have another video just talking about the recent additions in the UT football program here momentarily, so check that out as well. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. We have some equipment coming to the house amidst this COVID stuff, so we can upgrade some of the quality on the channel and continue getting out even more content to you guys. So I'm very, very thankful. Hit me up in the comments if you have any questions. Peace. Horns always up.